Hello everyone. It's been a weird 24 hours, between my guildie getting like excommunicated from the game due to, well, circumstances that are, I will agree, they're partially their fault, but at the same time, I feel like Sega could throw them a bone. And, well, the newsletter we just got here. So, I've seen I've seen Platt's take on it. I want to look at something a little bit different on the entire thing for today. So go ahead and get it pulled up here. So, I mean, ultimately, you've probably seen this a million times at this point. We're getting stuff here that's going to tailor make this to our own timeline of sorts. So we won't be the CN version of TW. This will be global. Things are going to be different, and I like that. I don't like playing a one-to-one copy with a 3-month, behind deficit for another version. I'd rather we get something tailor-made to ourselves, especially if our rules of engagement are going to be different. Might as well. So, I mean, we'll cut right into it. The only real loss here, and I still don't. Is it Japanese law? What's the case? Is that, Minami, Yumi, Phoebe, whatever you want to call her, those characters are all going to be 6-month wait. Now, is that a 6-month wait after they've been disappeared, or is that if they fall on an anniversary period, like let's say our 6 months comes up, does everybody before that get on there, or how does that work? There's still things that I'm not 100% sure on. So there are questions here to be asked on that. The 110 system, people have gone over it. And here's the cold hard truth about the 110 system is I think it's more for free to plays. I think it's more for if you want that character, you want to guarantee it, and you want to spend less resources to get one copy. The 110 is your go-to. That is, do it, get it done. If you're like a spender and you're trying to get multiple copies, I would probably stay away from this system. But if you're like either, you're a spender or you're looking to, minimize the amount of gems you put into something, I would go for the 110 for just one copy. So there may be some units where I'm like, oh, I only need one copy of this. I'll do the 110. If it's a unit I really like, I want multiple copies, I'm sticking to the 50-50. I've seen the math that several different people have run. I mean, not just Bear, not just Platt. I think Zevi, a couple others have also touched on it. I would stick to the 50-50. But the fact that we are getting this early, potentially, I guess, 2.0, everybody says this was like a 6-month mark thing. So this is another huge development here in terms of the acceleration and how things can be used, to our gain. And again, to go back around before we get into all this fun stuff is, yeah, I get it. We got to wait 6 months for Minami and the other standard banners. However, there has been advantages like the costumes. I've been told the costumes in other versions are basically gotcha capsule to get them. So people could have spent hundreds of dollars trying to gamble to get said costumes, whereas here, if you want those costumes, we just have to pay a set gem price. Am I a big costume guy? Will you ever catch me with one of these costumes on? Probably not. If you threw some coffees into that costume pack, would I buy it? Yeah, probably. 100%. 100% Sega. You want me to buy something? You throw coffees in there. You give me stamina, you give me extra resources. I'm all for it. Now, getting the whole, Minami and Yumi situation out of the way, and any other, standard character, it is what it is. I mean, they mention all the other stuff here. And again, as somebody who's a veteran of these games, I will wait to see what they do. I like that they're communicating more. I like that they've laid out a better game plan. I'm going to wait to see what's going on there. it's not going to change anything. I mean, I'm still going to spend. I mean, that I was going to spend regardless if they ever did this. I'll be honest with you guys. It's just how I am. But this does potentially change how I feel about hitting max level now and some other things about the game because there are some X factors in here that I want to go over. Because again, a lot of this has been beaten into the ground. You know, we're going to have an event for Minami, and technically that event you could take those shards and use the awakening, the 60 we're going to get, into something else. And you may very well want to put it into something else. Same with the weapon. You may want to use the weapon on a 4-star character like Leon or Soy. There's some depth there to what you could do with that. So these upcoming campaigns, the one that caught my eye the most though is this Lufel's Business Plan EX, because as far as I know, in the other versions, I think after 4 that was it. And the reason I'm kind of hyper fixated on this is to get past Business Plan 4, you have to hit level 80. Well, do you have to complete Business Plan 4 for this to unlock? Will this unlock in tandem if you still have 3 and 4 on the table? This is what makes me think maybe getting to 80 sooner rather than later is a little bit different now because of stuff like this if you want to get the access to these. Now, granted, they'll always be there. There's no real rush in the grand scheme of things, but if you wanted to unlock this potential content, I don't know if this is a complete X factor. I just don't have any answers. We're theory crafting, and I love theory crafting on stuff. I'm very excited about that. I like the unknown. I like being in the gray areas, even when it was a gray area for myself. And then somebody mentioned, "Oh, well, don't worry, you can't see your experience, but that's all going towards the S level whenever we get it." I was like, "Oh, thank God, thank God," because I was like, "Man, I'm doing 6 refreshes a day, and this could all go into the ether, and I could have really just shot myself in the foot." And I'm still doing it. But now this Lufel's Business Plan EX business is great. And then, of course, these shards, people have mentioned we're going to get like 1 a week. Now, as somebody who's played with multiple different awakening systems in other games, generally what will happen is we'll have some sort of events. There'll be extra currency to get some of these shards here and there. So, maybe once every 4 months, depending on how many of these shards we get. If they throw these into cash shop packs as well to incentivize them, you'll probably get an awakening on something. Now, the fact that this is going to also be for limited characters, whereas the other version didn't do that at all, that's great. But to be honest, this is where I'm going to be a little bit of a snob to the game for the other version. It's like, well, I've known games that they didn't discriminate. They put all the characters into the awakening thing. Dragon Quest Hack is like a big one for that back in the day when that was still going global. When they released a character, if you got 100 awakening shards, you could take those 100 awakening shards and use it while the character's banner was still going to get that extra copy. So the fact that the other versions don't have that, I'm like, I wonder why people didn't raise alarm bells over that. But you know how people are selective, I guess, in that regard. So yeah, no. And then we're also getting this early too. Somebody said this has been like at the 6-month mark. So we're just maybe we get this at 2.0. That's what, 2.5 months, almost 3 months into the game's lifespan. So things like the accelerated track, they can work to our advantage. I know some people are not keen on that because rewards get muddied, pulling gets harder, especially if you're not a spender. It's not fun. That is not a fun game to play where you're sitting there having to hope that you hit every hit you need to hit and then you have enough for the next big character you want. That sucks. I don't know that feeling personally because if I miss a hit, I curse and then I top up and then I go again. So it's that's life. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. So a lot more, just overall, a lot more communication on their part. This is good. This is a battle plan here. How much of this we're actually going to get. how much of this people are going to like. It's all up for interpretation. I mean, again, they're not going to like the limited, the standard characters not being in a banner for potentially 6 months. That still confuses me. Like, is again, there could be some further clarification as to the why on that, and further clarification if it's just like an entry point where if a character falls X amount of days before said anniversary, do they end up on that 6 month, or do they have to wait the full 6 month and then they end up on the next anniversary? Which there's just so much there that I can interpret in several different ways, and I would like clarification on that. I would like something definitive. I think we all would, to know what the rules of engagement are for these standard characters, because some of these may not be a 6 month wait. Some of these may be a 1 month wait. And some of these may fall within that 6 month period or 5 month. It's just, yeah, no. I could theory craft all day on that. But the fact that we're getting the Awakening Shards, this EX business plan, you know, they're very receptive, and I'll be honest here. It's one of those things where I am glad you guys fought hard. I'm glad, some of your guys, as you literally sacrificed, your playtime in this game. You quit. You went to the wayside, and you made the game better for all of us by doing that. Because they do notice these things. Because again, when I saw the game made 8.8 million last month, I'm like, why would Sega change anything? They made a decent amount of money. So that either tells me that somebody on the top end maybe got shifted, somebody else, came into play, or potentially when we do see next month's revenue numbers, they took a dip, and this is a course redirect to kind of make sure that doesn't happen and that things go in the opposite direction. Because let's be honest here, if you're happy, I'm happy, you're more likely to spend money. Even if you're not a big spender, or even if you've never spent before, if you're happy with the game and you're playing the game, every day you engage with this game, there is a chance that you will put some money into it. May not be today, may not be tomorrow. I mean, it may have to even take like a change in your lifestyle to be able to do that. But if you feel the game's treating you right, you throw it $5, and then at some point that snowballs into $80. Don't ask me how I know this, but yeah. So I'm excited about all this. I am excited. I feel like the people who held out, the people like myself, we're in some really good positions here because we've built up immensely strong characters, got the foundation set for this game, and they're starting to make some real moves here. Now, like down here about the future, we'll see what happens overall in terms of what their plans are. How much further are we going to deviate? But yeah, no, I am vastly excited about a lot of this. But again, I feel like now maybe it would be, I don't know, better to just put the gas to the pedal on leveling and try and get to 80 with them doing all this extra stuff, because maybe some of this will be locked behind level 80. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you the math for, like, let's say an average player to go from 1 to 80. Would that be 3 months? Would that be 5? I'm not 100% sure. I just know that on the accelerated track, somebody crazy like myself was pulling in 25 KXP a day, and I beat out the course pretty well. Other people beat out the course pretty well, but we'll see. They could also just, this could be something tacked on. It could be on the side. It could be just you don't have to complete plan 4 and you get access to this. The weapon system is looked very interesting in terms of what they're going to do with like weapon breakthroughs and other things. I'm excited. Now, again, how much of this we're going to get done, how much of this is going to be, hit the mark overall, I don't know. I'll wait to see it. But assuming they, do the 1-to-1 here, what, there's like an 80% victory overall, maybe a 90. And yeah, of course, some people are always going to be upset about, well, they didn't do a couple of things here, but at the end of the day, if they're willing to go through this, they're willing to sit down, put these bullet points out, take the time to go through all of this with us, and put everything out. This is a good sign. This is really good because as somebody who's played tons of these games, generally what you get is a chat GPT response, and they tell you to F off. They tell you, well, we'll get around to it, or things will be okay, or, this is good. So with that being said, I am very curious to see how long it takes for all this to get implemented, mind you, because some of this feels like it could be 2.0, which at time of recording, that's what, 20 something days away, 3 weeks away. It's not too far off. So we'll see how that plays out. And some of this other stuff here, it feels like this could be, more towards October. I know they mentioned the Minami event's going to be mid to late September. So maybe October will be filled with some additional surprises here for us in terms of their grand scheme of things. But I don't know. Do you think this is going to actually bring people back? Or do you think those people never really left to begin with? There's a lot there to I don't know, ponder on. But I will say that in terms of like what we could have hoped for, I wasn't expecting any of this. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. Again, they made 8.8 million. I just assumed they were going to tell us to kick rocks because they were in a good position. They were in a really good position to keep just doing things the way they were. And somebody up top got this feedback, saw what was going on, and this is a real course correction here. This is like, we're going to have our own version, our own way. And I'm hoping that they do it in a way that, it ultimately benefits us. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. This could all go to shit next month, easily with how things are. But I feel like they made a lot of money. Somebody else is in charge now. And, they took us from getting ready to veer off a cliff, and now we're, cruising 60 down the highway just fine. Everything's going to be okay for the most part. Going to have some bumps along the way, but that's life. Anyway, with that being said, I am curious, guys, what your thoughts are on all this. I'm curious what you would like to see. Like, what are some gripes about the other versions of the game that you would kind of hope that they fix? Like, again, the cognitive shard thing only being for a couple of characters on their version, but here we're going to have potentially all of them. I mean, they only mention a couple of the limiteds for now, but I can't see them not including everything, all the characters at some point as they come out. But anyway, with that being said, I will catch you on the next one. This is way, way better news. I will take this. I will run with this. And again, let's just, we'll give them some time. But we got to make sure we keep them accountable with all this. Because again, this is a lot here to promise. I want to make sure they deliver on it. As we all should. Anyway, see you on the next one. Peace.